Slap tang. Or for you who don't know any Malay, good evening. Tonight we're going Indonesian. Well, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and even apparently the Netherlands. I've no idea what connection is there. But we're going to cook a classic Indonesian dish. First had this dish when we went to Borneo, coming back to that one. And actually I've had this recipe on the back burner for a while. It's not overly complicated. The key ingredient I already had, but we didn't get delivery until this afternoon, Tesco's. We couldn't get one like Friday. If we was delivered on Friday, we always give us Saturday morning to catch up with anything we couldn't get, but we didn't have it Saturday, so I had to be careful what I booked, you know, to do. So this has been on the cards for a while, but tonight, rather than asking for a what do you call it? Recommendation. Oh, I can't think of the word is now. Well, I don't know if that'd be it. Rather than asking people what would you like me to cook, tonight I'm going to dedicate this to someone. So we first had this in Borneo, sort of Malaysia, okay, and it was when we went with some friends who were getting married in Borneo. Well, only very, very recently they had their second child, little boy called Henry. So I said I'm going to dedicate this one to Henry. Oh, and Zara, his big sister. Don't want to leave her out. So tonight we're going to cook a version, and we'll come to that as well, of Nasi Goreng. So Nasi Goreng. By the way, if the filming goes a bit wafty, it's simply because bloody DJI update their app and it don't bloody work now. So whereas I'm used to every time I click record it pings at me so I know it's doing it, I have to double check it's actually recording. Anyway, one thing I found in Borneo, it was just too humid. So I'm going to take that off, right? Take that off. So, Nasi Goreng, basically, in Indonesian or whatever, it simply means fried rice, okay? And so this is just a version of fried rice, okay? So obviously you're going to need some rice. Now I've got some pre-cooked jasmine rice here, and again traditionally in sort of those sort of Asian cultures it was like, don't waste food. So if you had rice left over from the night before, you often will cook something like Nasi Goreng for breakfast. And at its basic, it's just this fried rice with a special rempah, special paste. Okay, but it would often be served with an egg. Okay, so we're going to do that, but we're also going to add a few other bits. So I've got some chicken breasts here. Tesco's must be on, well, I don't know what's going wrong with them. They seem to switch two breasted chickens. We didn't get a free breasted chicken this time. It's always free breasted, but we've got two breasted. I've got some jumbo prawns, peeled. They're going to go in, to be cooked. And then essentially, we're going to add some well, actually they go in the paste bit. We're going to add a small amount of crispy onions, okay? And then the other ingredients I've got here are simply for making this rempah, this paste that we cook the rice in, okay? So, what we're going to start with is having a drink. And then we're going to start preparing our rempah. Now, if you wanted to do it with a little bit of a side salad, you would have, say, sliced cucumber and sliced tomato. We're not going to bother. But I would suggest you do that now, so it's ready for when you serve up. Okay, so for this paste, you're going to want some shallots. I've got about 5 or 6 shallots there, because some of them are quite tiny. So I'm going to get them peeled in a minute. I've got 1 red chilli. It's not a huge chilli. If you want extra kick, leave the seeds in. I might take the seeds out of that one. Okay, you're going to want some garlic. I've got about 6 cloves of garlic. Again, some of these are a little bit old, tired and small, so I'll put a little bit extra in. So garlic, shallots, chilli, and then the magic ingredient. This one is nang fa, sometimes known as belacan, or whatever. But basically, it's like a fermented shrimp paste, right? Probably stinks. No idea. There you go. Looks like baby poo. So you want some of that. Now I had that because I bought that a while ago, and I've used that in other dishes. And really, that's the key to it. Well, one of the keys to it. The other, this doesn't go in the paste. This is a sweet soy sauce that comes from Indonesia. Kepak manis, I think it's pronounced. Okay, basically it's got palm sugar added to like soy sauce. So that's like an Indonesian soy sauce. So first off, it's a matter of just chopping up, peeling, and then chopping up, sort of, it doesn't have to be that fine. Now, if you've got a mini little food processor, then you can do this in a food processor. We want a fairly coarse paste, but I've only got my NutriBullet, and this will be lost in there. This won't get blitzed in there, I don't think. And also I've got a big food processor, and it definitely will get lost in there. So I'm going to do it traditional style. We're going to use the mortar and pestle. And no, don't try and be clever and say that's a Mexican mortar and pestle. Why are you using a Mexican one? Because it's the better one I've got. All right, so I'm just going to peel this garlic, peel these shallots, chop them up, chuck them in there, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so there's the garlic and the shallot chopped up in there. Now my shrimp paste, I'm going to take about a teaspoon of this, which is going to be easy said and done because it's quite a stiff paste. I'm glad the plastic is going to come out now. Okay, so I'm going to put about that in. Now apparently some people like to toast this first, but given that it's essentially going into the stir fry, all right. So that's gone in there. So our final thing to put in there is our chilli. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to take out the seeds, and that's entirely up to you. You can just do the whole thing. Hand in the bloody things. So I'm going to be getting it later up. So just going to roughly chop them, and then that goes in there. And then what we're going to do is grind these together. Like I said, we're trying to make quite a coarse paste. Okay. So it doesn't matter if it's a bit lumpy, as it were, but I'm just going to grind this up. We will then cook the egg. Okay, and so essentially we get all the accompaniments ready, all the bits that we're going to add. So then we cook it and we'll serve it. All right. Okay, so let's have a good old pounding. Okay, speed things up if you chopped it up, or you put a bit more, or you put it in a food processor. But like I say, there's not an awful lot in there. If you had one of them little mini processing attachments, you could have done that. Now, that's known as rempa, and that's sort of like the standard paste that you would do this fried rice in. Like I said, it's sort of basically fried rice, Indonesian style. With this particular blend, goes with the rice and the kapis manis, kepak manis. Okay, and you can just have that with an egg. We don't even have to have an egg, I don't think. But you may choose to have other things with it. So quite often, if you bought it on the street, it would be plain simple fried rice. But you go somewhere a bit posher, you know, where they might put it on a plate. You might have something like prawn or chicken or whatever. So we're going to have some chicken, some prawns, and some green beans. So what we're going to do with the beans is I'm going to top and tail them. Okay, and then I'm just going to chop them up So I've got about 12 green beans, French beans, I don't know, it depends what you call them. I've always known these ones as French beans. Okay, and then I'm going to cube up me dodgy chicken breast. You know, it's got to be dodgy, innit? It's only got 2. You know, there's normally definitely 3. So I'm topping the tail in them. I'm just going to chop them up into sort of shorter sections and then put them by ready to cook. And then I'm just going to, like I say, dice up this chicken. My prawns are all ready to go. And then we've got all the ingredients done and we can start cooking. Okay, so all the ingredients are ready to go. Okay, and so we're going to fry off our rice. Okay, we're going to have fry off our egg. We're going to have a fried egg on top. Okay, so I've put quite a bit of oil in here. We won't use all that oil for the what's name frying. So I'm just going to put that oil on to heat up. We're going to need this egg nice cooked. Probably flip it so stay side up. Because I want to keep the egg quite contained, I'm going to break it into a cup and then tip it in when that oil's hot. But before I do any more, no, it's not time for a beer. Well, actually, it is time for a beer. But this is a special shout out for a very special little girl, Zara. Okay, I know I said at the beginning this was dedicated to newborn Henry. I think it's about a week old. I'm not really sure when he was born, but it'd be about a week. But Zara's a bit older than that. She's been around a little while, and she won't remember me. But I came and saw her, not long after she was born. Came and saw her at her home. Took some photographs of her while she was a baby. So look them up, Zara. So I'm going to cook the fried eggs for you, Zara. All right. So I'm going to let the oil come up to temperature, and then we'll get frying. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got the oil up to temperature, I think, just about. I'm going to tip the egg in, try and keep it sort of up together. Okay. Actually, temperature's the oil's probably not quite hot enough yet, but at least the eggs keeping fairly together. And what I'm going to do, we'll basically deep fry the egg. You know, we want a nice fried egg, fried on both sides. Be nice if it's nice and a little bit crispy around the edges. All right. So I've got some kitchen towel here on a plate. Don't you spit at me! Don't you dare spit at me, little bugger. I've got some kitchen towel here, and I'll put it onto this, just drain it, so it's obviously not quite so oily. But it's just a matter of really just cooking this egg. You want it like runny in the middle, all right? We don't want any of this hard egg. Okay, like I say, preferably a bit crispy around the edges. Okay, so I'm going to finish this one off and do the next one. Okay, so actually I fried 4 eggs because they were quite small eggs, so we'll have 2 each. And also it gives me some spares in case I have an accident with them. So they're just sitting there, keeping warm. I've got rid of most of the oil, and I've kept 2 tablespoons of oil in there. So I'm just turning the heat down a little bit on that. I'm going to warm that back up, and then we're going to take that rempa and we're going to fry that off in there for a bit. And we've got ourselves an idea. And that bloody last egg didn't have spit. Goodness, we went bloody everywhere. Oh, so the trauma I had to have beer anyway. So like I say, we're just going to cook this off, and then for about 5 minutes. Or you might notice that it starts sort of separating and the solid bits start darkening. And of course, if you could smell, which I can't, you would notice fragrance coming off, at which point you know that's cooked. Okay, and at that point we're now going to cook the raw ingredients, which is obviously our chicken, our prawns, and beans. And we'll toss them for a few minutes in that so that they pick up all that nice flavour and colouring. Actually, I think that's on a small burner, so I might turn that up a little bit. So it's probably going to spit. Yeah. So in this goes. Okay. If you don't precondition this lava mortar and pestle, you've probably got a little bit of lava in there as well. Alright, but I did spend ages preconditioning that, so I don't think I have. Right, so like I say, we're now just going to stir that off for about 5 minutes. I might turn that heat down a little bit now. Okay, until that's cooked through. Right, that's almost ready for the next ingredients, and I've just noticed now I've started cleaning stuff away. Bloody all splashes everywhere. So I'm going to slip the chicken in first, okay, because we obviously want to make sure that's properly cooked through. Okay, so I'm just going to toss it around in the rumpa. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Right, and give that a bit of a coating. If you've ever had Nasi Goreng, it's got like a brown, it's like browny coloured rice. That's not because it's brown rice, and it's not because of this stuff either. It's because of the sweet sauce. Sweet sauce. Nasi Goreng is often called the national dish of Indonesia, and like I said, you find it all over that part of Asia. Okay, the belief is that it originated from Chinese fried rice, but it was really about 10th, 15th, up to about the 15th century that they were trading quite a lot with China. So it is quite possible it came from that. Although there is a belief that it descended from, not from China, but from the Middle East. And it's actually a version of a pilaf. Right, anyway, that's enough of that. In go me beans, me chopped beans, and in go me prawns. So like I said, what we're now going to do, we're now just going to toss all that together and cook that through for a few minutes. Okay, because obviously we need to make sure these raw ingredients are cooked. Don't necessarily need to fully cook it at this stage. All right, so I'm going to stir this, keep this going. All right, and when we're ready to chuck in the rice, I'll come back to you. Okay then, so that's the meat and prawns and that sort of cooked through. So what I've got here is some jasmine rice that I cooked earlier. Okay, I'm just going to loosen it up a bit, and I'm going to chuck that in there, and then we're just going to mix all of that in with that. Now, there is a lot of rice here. Equally, there's an awful lot of meat and that in there, and you probably wouldn't normally have that amount in there with that amount of rice. Okay, but on the other hand, this is just cooking it how you want it. Like I say, could just be simply rice with nothing else in it. Although, as I pointed out, because it was sort of a little bit taboo, particularly in Chinese circles, to waste food, any leftover rice would be used in the morning for things like breakfast, and any other sort of things you had left over, might be tomatoes, might be shallots, might be a bit of meat, I don't know, you would mix all that in as well. So at the end of the day, you can put in it what you fancy. Now, I thought I had some dried shrimp left, but I must have used them in another recipe, because you could use dried shrimp. Okay, could not have any meat at all. Make it vegetarian, I suppose, although then you obviously wouldn't want the egg on it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to mix this through for a bit. I'll just turn that heat down a little bit. I'm just going to mix it all through so it's all mixed in together. Okay, and then we'll start adding the final couple of ingredients. Right then, so almost there now. So we've got this sweet soy sauce, and we're going to add about a tablespoon of that. This is quite thick, okay, you can see that. Okay, so I might just have to add a little bit more, because obviously a lot of it stays on the spoon. All right, so see if I can get it out with that. This is quite potent stuff. I've used it for other things as well. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to mix everything through to make sure it's all thoroughly mixed in with it. Okay, and I'm also at this stage going to add some crispy onions, simply because I had a tiny amount of them left, and you can add crispy onions to it. Okay, so let's get this all mixed in, and we'll be shortly ready to serve. So like I said, if you was having like a side salady thing with it, now would be the time, or rather you would have already prepared that. We're going to serve this as well with traditional prawn crackers. Now I've not made them, could have made them, but I haven't. All right, so just going to get this all mixed in, and then we'll be ready to start serving up. Okay, so we're going to start serving it up. Okay, I've got all that soy sauce mixed into it. I'm going to turn the heat off. So remember, we've got our eggs to go on top, and we're also going to serve it with some prawn crackers, like I said. So I'm just going to start dishing this out, and then I will show you a final dish. Now, I'm a bit worried now, Zara, because I don't know what your granny might think of this. I know she can't taste it. She'll probably sit there and go, that's not Nasi Goreng. But anyway, oh, I've got your name in. Oh, I've got your name in again, Zara. Oh, I just did it again. Okay, here we go then. Nasi Goreng with some prawn crackers. Actually, what I might do is I might just use my prawn cracker to scrape up some of that rice. Definitely got the sweetness of the accompaniments. Oh, and I'm starting to get a bit of chilli coming in. The egg, not quite as oozy as it ought to be. Oh, definitely getting the chilli coming in. Not the same as what I had in Borneo, I have to say, but very nice anyway. So there you go, Nasi Goreng.